Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers here in Richmond, Surrey in the United Kingdom. I'm talking about a book which I think many people will be interested in. It's this book here. It's The Epic Voyage of Captain George Vancouver by Stephen Bown, and it's subtitled Madness, Betrayal and the Lash. It's a very interesting book, as you can see, and it's got a huge amount of very detailed information in it, plus some very useful photographs and a very nice series of comments at the back, giving a fairly good indication of how much work has been put into this biography. The reason I'm reviewing it, and I put a lot of reviews on the internet, is because in fact George Vancouver is buried where I live. Little's been written about him until Ernie Coleman's book, which is the one just behind me, which was written in 2000, which basically is an excellent, uncomplicated, straightforward biography. However, with Bown you've got a much newer, highly detailed and scholarly work which came out in 2008. What Mr. Bown has done is he's re-evaluated Vancouver's life and his work. It's excellent in my view in every respect, and it fills an important gap in 18th century naval history. As I said, I live in where Vancouver actually spent his last days. This is in a place called Petersham. It's a little fishing village mentioned in the Domesday Book, near Richmond in Surrey, and it's just on the banks of the River Thames. We celebrate Vancouver's life annually at a service in the churchyard where he's buried at St. Peter's Church, and in fact the churchyard is kept up by the people of Vancouver, British Columbia. I've also visited beautiful Vancouver and the island, and I've travelled part of the northwest coast of northern America because I'm married to a Vancouverite, and therefore I've got a special interest and regard for the man and the area that he was surveying. Let's get a few things straight though about Vancouver. He was an experienced sailor, having served on the last voyage, the fateful voyage of Captain Cook, when Vancouver was a midshipman. Now, Vancouver wasn't an experienced diplomat. He didn't clearly suffer fools gladly, but his record as master and captain of HMS Discovery between 1792 and 95 in particular was very good for the times. He only lost one person, and I can see from the detail in Stephen Bown's work that Vancouver cared for his men, although he had an inexperienced crew and some pretty malevolent officers, judging by what's been said, including people like Sir Joseph Banks, who he had to deal with later, the aristocrat Thomas Pitt, and the ship's surgeon. The trouble is you can't do very much against that sort of thing. Vancouver's reputation, of course, was shattered as a result of various things because these guys set up against him, and he died alone with little money on the completion of his surveys and diaries at the age of 40 in his little house called Navigator's Cottage, which is still there. Now, our services at Petersham Church over the last 25 years I've been attending them are often sad occasions for me as I reflect on his life during the commemorations that we've had. And I've come to the conclusion, having read this book, that it's probably one of the best I've read for ages about this rather unpleasant period of British naval history when Vancouver's name and contribution were basically smeared. Now, what Bown has done is he's vindicated him. My review I've entitled Vindicated After 200 Years, and that's basically what it's about. You'll find that on the internet. It's a well-researched and referenced book, as I've indicated. There's some good sources at the back. And there are many recorded stories which I found fascinating, which give a light onto the problems of the times. And one gets the feeling of the period with the book, in my view, brilliantly. You feel as though you're there. was taken back to Dartmouth when I was there in the wardroom, and I was just thinking. I remember talking to some of the midshipmen there, and they were talking about this difficult period in our history, and it's something that we have to face up to. The book itself has 13 chapters and 4 parts, plus great photographs which delve into great detail with a splendid list of both sources and a bibliography at the back. What Bown paints is a picture of the flogged pit in particular as the baddie, quite rightly, with few redeeming features, and he exposes the aristocratic establishment of the time hard for their unjust behaviour towards Vancouver. Remember, Vancouver was the son of a gentleman born in King's Lynn, and his father was a deputy customs officer. I would probably not have liked to have served under Vancouver, as I can see some of the massive leadership problems we had to deal with. Obviously the conditions would be pretty horrible too. The difficulty I see, though, is the challenging behaviour from senior officers, which is difficult at the best of times, and I've had my fair share of them in the past in the armed forces. However, I have a tremendous regard for Captain George Vancouver, and it remains strengthened by Bown's biography, ending with this tribute that he pays. He says, "He accomplished great things, and as our historical and cultural ancestor, he deserves a greater place in our collective memory." I think that's a fitting tribute. He just got it here from Stephen Bown. So thank you very much, Mr. Bown, from an admirer where Vancouver now rests. Goodbye.